It usually comes in grey color, and it's imported clay we use because there is no high temperature clay in Cyprus, which is rather a problem. There's usually that red one that they make the flower pots with, but to get the colors and the results we want and to obey the health and safety standards, we use the high temperature clay, which is this one. At the beginning stage it looks like this, which is dark grey, but in the process it reaches this color, which is a lighter grey. You will see some other clays around the workshop, but we shall focus on this one today. And this is the first stage, then it reaches this stage, and then after this stage it needs to be fired. But to know how we fire it, you need to come inside and see the kilns. On the way there you see the wheels, which is the various tools that the potter uses. Here you see the wheels spinning, so you get to put the clay and you usually make the pot. What you're touching, for everything is rather sensitive. This is the kiln. In the kiln we fire the objects, so they get in the first stage, which is grey, and then they get this pinkish color. After they get the pinkish color, we get them out of the kiln and we dip them into the glazing, which is usually created by the oxides of various minerals and metals. And so you need to fire it again in order to get the final result, which will look something like this or like this, yes, which this is primarily with copper oxides that you can create black with manganese, and it goes on. The firing, for the first firing, you fire it up to 1000 degrees Celsius, which is rather high temperature to cook any other food, but for pottery it's rather necessary. Then for the second firing, you need to take it up to 1260 when it comes to this kind of pottery that we do. But 1260 doesn't give exactly the colors we like. So we cook it a little bit more. Potentially you could say that we burn a little bit the pottery to get the 1280 degrees that we desire. That gives you the very vivid and nice color. Now come along. You are given just a mild demonstration of what it is you are supposed to be doing. So you usually put the clay somewhere in the center, and at the naked eye it will look as if it is in the center, but when you spin it, you will feel that it is not exactly in the center. Now it might be looking as if it's in the center, but the shape might be deviating from it. So what you want is to pressure it down and then lift it up. Yes? And you take it down and you lift it up. Yes? And you see how my hand started relaxing now, right? Now I take it down a little bit more, hold it there, and hope it's in the center. Now I'll try and do it in a manner rather unusual to me. Do it with one hand so you have the view of it. And we dig inside. Yes. And we keep pressuring. And then you open. Now what we did at the beginning was determine the depth. Yes? Now, in the process, we try to determine the width. So I decide how much the opening of the pots will be. Now these stages need to happen in this sequence, because the depth, if you try to influence later on, the object will go out of center, for it will be a very fragile object to play with. If you try to determine the width later on, you might have some influence, but it will be very risky when you do so. And then you determine the height. Now the regular way that I would do this, I would put my hands like this, and I would do the first pull and aim for a cone. Yes? Now I will continue with one hand like this, hoping to give you the view. And you see there is a limitation to this technique, because I have a limitation here. I cannot reach to the far end as it grows taller. Yes? So I will do it one last time with this technique, and then I employ another technique, which is what do? I put my left hand inside and leave it hanging, yes? Just to give a bit of resistance on the walls here to keep it safe. And then I will use my right hand, and the actual movement that is being played out is this. So the left hand doesn't pressure, which is a common mistake to people who try to work with their will for the first time. Yes, you just put resistance from the inside. Now there is nothing to rush about. And keep it slowly there. Now, when you get a shape like this, you can either go for a cylinder, yes, which is just to cut out the sides and keep what is left, make a mug, make a cup, or you can try widening it and you can go for a bowl. This is not the most conventional way to go for a bowl. There might be easier way, but we shall give it a go. Yes. You can tell how it's opening. It's a very rewarding procedure and quite pleasant, I assure you. The better use for credit cards, despite taking money out of the bank, of course, is fixing the shape of the pot at the very end. You will keep it spinning. I will bring it to you. You can take a tool like this and make sure to take away, you see here, to take away some of the extra clay. Now at the beginning it's necessary to keep that clay there because it helps you sustain the stability of it. For as you make it thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, then things become problematic. So we bring it here, we get our credit card and make the final shaping. And we decide that it's ready. Yes. Now we will need a string. Can you give me that string over there? 2 little stones and a string. Excellent. Now, you usually use the string after, of course, you collect the water from inside to cut the piece and take it out. But we shall try something different. We shall cut it here and try and demonstrate the point. Yes. Now, this is a finished pot. You see here, it has thicker amount of clay here. You can see the thickness of the base here, and you can see that as it goes higher, it grows thinner. Now, there is a limitation to how thin you would like to make it. If you work with drier clay, potentially you could aim for thinner results because they will have the stability to stand. Now, this amount here, when you get the feel of it at the very end, it might help it stabilize a little bit, but it feels nicer when you trim it off. But unless you have it here, you can't cut it off the will because then it's too sensitive and it can't be cut off. So you always leave some thickness here in order to cut it off, position it on the side, and then you can get it off.